Hello, family. Greg D here with TG, and we're back for another DCUO video. And today, what I want to talk about is something that I've had requested several times over the last few weeks here, and that is what weapon type should I use for each power slash role. So what I want to talk about there is what personally I like to use, what I've seen do well, and I'm going to kind of make this a more broad video. So I'm going to kind of focus more so on each role as opposed to each power, because I don't want to be sitting here for 20 minutes and talking your ear off. So basically, we're going to have four roles in the game, as we all know. We have DPS, we have tank, controller, healer. So for DPSing, as we all know, for right now, might is the way to go as far as DPSing is concerned. That is what is will get you your most damage, especially if you are a person who does want the most damage and you want to be on the top of that scoreboard at the end of an alert, at the end of a raid. Then you want to go might. So when you're might, it really doesn't matter what weapon type you have, honestly. It doesn't matter if you have a close ranged, a medium range, a long ranged weapon. Does not matter whatsoever, because all of your damage is going to be coming from your powers. You're not going to have any damage coming from your weapons unless you're out of power. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're a precision DPS where most of your damage is coming from your weapons, that makes a different story. So personally, what I like to use, what I have used for several years now, is the two-handed weapon mastery combo into Aerostorm. It's easy, as you see there. All you have to do is hold 2 times, but it will create a flurry of damage, because when you do throw your two-handed weapon, you are going to get more than one hit when you throw that against an enemy. So as you throw that, you are going to end up getting 2 or 3 hits, I believe, and then you're going to get a little flurry of storms from the bow hit. So you will see those damage numbers increase dramatically. So um, that is my personal favorite. Like I said, it doesn't really matter if you're. I would probably say, if I was a precision-based DPS, I would want something that is more so a medium to long-range weapon. So, like I said, two-handed to Arrow Storm to the Bow Mastery is my favorite as a precision DPS. Another one that I enjoy is Martial Arts into Hand Blaster. Another one that is good is the rifle into the slip shot, so the dual pistol. And then my final one was probably be Hand Blaster into Arrow Storm again, or the Bow Mastery. So there are several options there for you to enjoy. Like I said, my personal favorite, no matter what I'm doing, is the two-handed into the Bow Mastery. So now for tanking, we're talking close range. So you want to focus on melee weapons here. So personally, I would go one-handed. If I was doing a tank, I would probably go. Now, once again, you're going to be focusing on. You're not going to be focusing on damage if you're a tank at all. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about doing the weapon masteries per se, but you want to focus, like I said, on something that is a melee style weapon. Now, of course, you could argue that all of these weapons can technically be used in a melee sense, but for quickness, for just overall versatility, I would probably use one-handed. I may use martial arts in tank role. The other one that I would probably use is the shield. So there's just a couple options for you. But like I said, when you're in tank, obviously you're going to be right up next to the enemies, whether it's a boss, whether it's ads. So melee, close range, like I said, that's where your bread and butter is going to be there. So one-handed would be my personal choice. If I was going to be just focusing solely on tanking, you got to go one-handed. Now, for controlling and healing, so let's kind of broaden this up a little bit and say that DPS obviously could be any power in the game. So whether you want to focus on water DPSing, earth DPSing, sorcery DPSing, celestial DPSing, whatever the case is, you can choose whatever you want there. So now for tanking, obviously your powers there are going to be earth. You're looking at fire, ice, atomic, rage. So keep those powers in mind when you're talking about tanking. Like I said, anything can be used as far as a melee weapon, but as I said, one-handed is the way to go. So now for controlling and healing, for controller, I personally like to use something that's more of like medium to long range. So here's where I would get sort of into like personally for me, I would probably choose either dual pistol as a controller. This is one that's kind of fun. I would personally use this. Again, if you're focusing solely on controlling, most of your damage is not going to be coming from your powers. And you shouldn't be focusing on damage at all. When you're a controller, you should be focusing on making sure your group has power. So in the case of me focusing solely on that, I would be willing to sacrifice skill points into weapon mastery just so that I could help, but not necessary. So like I said, for me, my number one pick would be dual pistol, and I probably would use the um, hand blaster hand blaster mastery there as well. So like I said, any kind of medium to long range weapon works here. So controller powers, again, you're looking at gadgets, mental, light. Geez, I can't even remember all of them off the top of my head. Quantum. Um, what else we got? God, there's so many powers now, I can't even remember what they all are. But yeah, so mental, quantum, gadgets, mental, quantum, gadgets. What else am I thinking? Light, yeah, hard light. So there you go there. And as far as a healer power is concerned, so your healer powers, again, water, sorcery, nature, celestial. So for any of the healer type powers, I would personally choose long range. So if I was focusing and when I have focused on specifically totally healing, not worrying about damage at all, in the healer role, obviously you want to have your all of your focus be on making sure that your party stays alive. So you don't want to worry about damage at all. I know a lot of people, especially new players, they want to be a healer, but they also want to like do damage. Don't do that. Don't be one of those people. When you're a healer, do not worry about damage at all. When you're a controller, don't worry about damage at all. Focus on your role. Focus on giving your team power. Focus on keeping your team alive. And if you're a tank, obviously focus on making sure that all the attention is on you so that your DPSs can do the damage to burn down the enemies. So for my own personal sake, I like long range weapons for healing. So for, like I said, the sorcery, for the nature, for the celestial, for any kind of healing power, water is thrown in there as well. I personally like using bow or hand blaster. So I would probably, again, not necessary to throw in skill points into weapon mastery when you're focusing on a secondary role like healing or controlling, because it does take up a lot of skill points, especially if you don't have a lot of skill points. But personally, I like to do it because you have to remember most of your focus is going to be on your power tray there, because that's where all of your focus is going to be. So, like I said, necessary? No. Would I do it? Probably. But just be mindful of like where you're at skill point wise. As you can see there, I only have 190, and yes, all the keyboard Karens and Beckys are, you only have 190 skill points. I'm not listening to you. Da, 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 da. Shut up. I know. Shut up. Shut up. Huh. So anyway, so I would use, like I said, for healer role, I would use something that is long range. So I have used bow. Hand blaster is another good one. Once again, like I said, you're not focusing on damage, so it doesn't matter. So my personal favorites, if we had to pick just one for each role, I know I've been rambling now for probably 10 minutes here, but so for each role, my all-time personal favorite for DPS is two-handed. That is my favorite by far. I've just come accustomed to it. I like it. It's just fun for me. For tanking, my all-time number one power, or I should say my all-time number one weapon for any tank one-handed. One-handed by far. For controller, I personally will use either dual pistol or rifle. And for healing, my all-time favorite is bow. So there you go. That's it. Once again, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to, I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all of like, you have to use this if you want to be a good tank. You have to use this if you want to be a good healer. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that in my experience, I've been playing the game since the game came out. In my experience, this has worked well for me. This is what's worked for me in these instances. Try them out for yourself, and if you like them, use them. If you don't like them, you don't have to. That's it. But that's what I would use. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching as always. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more. And until next time, we'll see you soon.